everyone, my name's Laura and I'm the Specky Seamstress, and I would say welcome back to my channel, but I probably need to welcome myself back first because I've been gone over a year. So I'm back and I've missed you all. Thank you so much to everyone who's reached out to me on Instagram or on email or on the YouTube channel to ask me where I've been and how I've been and if I'm okay. I really appreciate it. It's been a bit of a whirlwind year, and today's video is just going to be a little bit of a chatty catch up about where I've been, why I've been gone, what I've been doing, and hopefully a bit of a summary, lead-in, intro to a few video ideas that I have that I'm going to be filming over the next couple of weeks. But the tagline is, I'm back, I'm ready to be a regular YouTuber again, in some way, shape or form, and I'm hoping that you'll all welcome me back with open arms. So before I start talking too much about where I've been, I will just say that this video comes with a trigger warning. It will also be in the description down below for pregnancy and also miscarriage or pregnancy loss. So if you need to prepare yourself before you watch it, or you need to avoid it, then please do so. I know that it's something that is hard to hear at times. So where do I begin? Well, I last filmed a video, I think back in April 2021, so just over a year ago, and I had to just give myself a break from YouTube. Not particularly because of YouTube, but because I was burning out with just so much on in life. Work was ramping up in my day job, and I was struggling a little bit with my mental health, and I just needed something to give for a little while, and that was YouTube. And YouTube was the first thing that needed to give. And then in May, I found out that I was pregnant, and I continued with sewing and with Instagram and with my business, so my bias binding business, for a little while, for about a month. And then I decided to close the shop for a little while because I was struggling with fatigue from pregnancy and nausea, and I just wasn't feeling like I had enough energy to also run the business. But at the time, I still thought that when I hit that second trimester energy after 12 weeks, I would come back to YouTube, and I would come back to the business, and everything would carry on as normal. But unfortunately, at 11 weeks pregnant, I was admitted to hospital, and we lost our first pregnancy, which was obviously heartbreaking. And at that time, I decided to just give myself some space from anything that was a commitment. So the business remained shut. I remained off YouTube. I did some bits and pieces of sewing to help me emotionally, but I remained very low pressure and low profile in the internet world for a little while. I did talk quite a lot about my miscarriage on Instagram, and I know some of you will follow me on Instagram, and I know some of you won't. I'm unlikely to talk about it a lot here. A lot of time has passed since then now. I'm seeing a therapist, and that's really useful, but I don't want to turn this channel into that. So if there are if you want to know more, there's lots of information on my Instagram, and I am still talking fairly regularly about pregnancy loss on Instagram. At that time, I didn't really do that much sewing. I was doing a little bit of sewing to try and cheer myself up, but I found it very hard to transition away from where I'd been planning baby makes and maternity makes, and then I was not needing that anymore, and we didn't really know if there would be any need for those makes in the future. So I found it a very hard transition, and actually I've sewn very little compared to what I would have sewn prior to that. I really lost a little bit of my sojo, and I am going to talk a little bit more in some upcoming videos about my sewing over the last year, because I have some makes that obviously I would love to show you, but yeah, just to mention that I wasn't sewing anywhere near as much as I had done previously. And then I was sort of gearing myself up to get back into YouTube and reopen the shop, when in September 2021, I'll remember my years, I found out that I was pregnant again, and I wanted to give myself a little bit of space because I'd obviously felt quite unwell in my first pregnancy, and obviously I was incredibly anxious and worried about how the pregnancy would progress after our first pregnancy loss. So I gave myself a break. I said, no, I'm not going to worry too much about sewing or about Instagram or about YouTube or about my business, and I just let myself try and concentrate on the health of me and my baby. Unfortunately, we also lost our second pregnancy in October. I had to have surgery for that miscarriage, and it was a very traumatic experience that I'm definitely not over. I don't think I ever will be. But the two miscarriages have had some very difficult moments in them, because partly because no matter what happens, that's going to be a difficult time, but also because of COVID restrictions. I spent a lot of time without Nick, which was very hard, and I'm definitely still recovering from that. And if I'm honest, then my mental health took a complete nosedive. We entered the realms of needing to find somewhere private that could run some tests to see if there was an underlying cause of our miscarriages. You're not entitled to any support until 3 losses in a row in the UK and in most parts of the world, and we didn't feel that we could continue to try and grow our family without knowing if there was something underlying. And the process of any fertility related care is really tough, really draining, and so I definitely didn't have the space, the mental energy for anything really. At that time we also decided to put our house up for sale, just to add to the activity in our lives that was ongoing. So I had a lot going on, and again I kept saying I really miss YouTube, I'd love to get back to YouTube, but I just didn't have the capacity to do so. So if we roll forward to January, I found out I was pregnant again. And I was obviously still incredibly anxious. The anxiety of pregnancy after loss is consuming, and I had actually made the decision that I probably wasn't going to come back to YouTube, and that I was probably going to keep my business closed and actually shut it down and get rid of all the stock. I was feeling a lot of pressure and guilt around having the stock in my house but not doing anything with it. But I, along with support from my husband, I decided to just hold off that decision a little bit and not put any pressure on doing anything too hastily. So I wanted to give myself a little bit of space just to see how everything was going. So I held off on any decisions, but in the back of my mind I had thought that YouTube certainly was going to be on hold for a considerable amount of time, and that the business would probably close. But I'm delighted to say that this pregnancy is progressing really well. I'm currently 24 weeks pregnant. We're due in September with baby Specky. We're obviously both delighted and have some wonderful family and friends around us who are really excited for us too. And after first trimester sickness and fatigue and anxiety, and then catching COVID at 12 weeks and feeling fairly ropey but also very worried about the pregnancy, and then moving house at 20 weeks, and then having our scan 3 days after we'd moved, I'm finally settling into feeling a little bit more like myself, a little bit more comfortable in the pregnancy, and ready to do some sewing as well as those other activities that I talked about. So we reopened the business on the 14th of April. So the SpeckySeamstress.com is now live and available for purchasing bias binding and faux leather patches, which has been really nice. I say we because I now have a wonderful business partner involved and on board, which has been really fun and really good for the business in terms of sustainability and ideas, and yeah, just feeling very in control of the business, which has been really nice. So that's been open a month now, or just over a month now, which yeah has been great. And then since opening the business, I've been saying to Nick, like, once we're settled into the house a bit more, I think I will come back to YouTube. And we've been in the house a month, and although you can still see boxes down to my right, we are now quite settled in. We love it here, and yeah, I'm doing my first bit of sewing in weeks and weeks and weeks, and I thought I would pull out my camera and film a little video. You'll see that I'm not in the same space, obviously I'm in a different house, but I'm also not in the sewing room. I'm in our conservatory right now. My sewing room I'm going to show you some more of in some upcoming videos, maybe one, maybe two, and maybe a before and after, because I'm going to be in a shed in the back garden, which is going to be beautiful, and is already fairly beautiful, but it needs a little bit of waterproofing and insulating, which we're getting done next week. So I'll show you some before and after of that, but it's going to be such a lovely Specky HQ, and Nick's delighted that it's going to be outside the house, so the mess is my mess and not his. As well as that, I'm going to show you some things that I've been making over the last year, some fabrics that I've bought over the last year, I've not made anything yet, amongst some other videos. But please do let me know what you'd like me to film, what you'd like to see me talk about. I'm definitely out of practice, and although it's been so much fun sitting and filming here today, I definitely need some ideas. So if there is anything that you want me to film, please do let me know, and I will do my best to film what you want to see. But in the meantime, I will say until next time, which won't be a year away this time, I promise. Bye!